I want to ask all of you a question. Did you ever look at a Pokemon and think that it wouldn't be very good, and then you use it and it's a complete 180 with how you feel about it? Because that's how I felt about Sawsbuck after doing a solo run with it. And today, we're going to see how it does in Pokemon White. Rules are in the description. Now I know you're probably wondering why I chose to run Pokemon White knowing I'll have to go up against Reshiram later, and I'll get to that later on. But with the weather getting colder here in Michigan, I thought it was fitting to run, especially since it has different forms pending on the seasons in-game. Unfortunately, because I play on winter, it changed my autumn form deer to the winter one, but that's okay because no matter the form, it's still a normal grass type, which is an interesting combination. In terms of base stats, it's pretty well balanced all around, with its highest stat being its attack at 100 and its lowest stat being its special attack at 60. 95 speed is great and will move first against almost everything in the game. Its move pool tends to lean into the physical side more than the special side, so I'm going to be going with an adamant nature today. And to jump back to the move pool, I want to say that it's so disappointing that this Pokemon has more than one move at level 5, so we miss out on Mega Horn, which would have been great to have for the early game, but it's not all bad. We do get Double Kick at level 10, which I imagine I'm going to be using for Lenora, Leech Seed at 13, Feint Attack at 16, Takedown at 20, Jump Kick at 24, Aromatherapy at 28, Energy Ball at 32, and Charm at 36, and then things start to pick up some with Horn Leech at 37, Nature Power at 44, Double Edge at 52, and Solar Beam at 60. When it comes to TMs, we get some pretty great options out of the gate. We'll get access to Work Up once we defeat the first gym leader, Retaliate, which is Stab after defeating Lenora. I'm going to touch on this move later in the run, Return when we get to Nimbasa, Substitute, which is useful in these runs, and in the post game, we can get Swords Dance. The early game isn't a problem for Sawsbuck. I'm going to do some early training before the first gym, but I want to point out something in the end battle. When I was changing my IVs in PK Hex, along with trying to be the autumn form, it reset my experience back to 0. While I did notice this at the time, I just continued to press on with the run, and I actually recorded this run on the day Legends ZA came out, and had the day off. I actually had a 4-day weekend, but if you're like me, you're one of those people who never turns off their alarm, which mine goes off at 6:15 a.m., and since I was up, I decided to record this run since it was 3 hours and 45 minutes before Best Buy opened anyway. Once I defeat N, I do get back to level 6. Bianca to this point isn't a challenge, and neither is Charon, although I should note I did go into the Dream Yard before battling him and have Double Kick to this point, and it's going to help out against the first gym leader, Chili. Lillipup is first. Double Kick leaves it on a sliver as Bite does pathetic damage. Chili heals it with a potion as I take it out the next turn. Pansear comes out and I stick with Double Kick. The two hits are doing about a third combined, as Incinerate does about a quarter to me, but as long as he doesn't crit me, I'll win this fight, and that's exactly what happens. I have the opportunity to learn Leech Seed at the end of the battle, which I teach in the place of Camouflage. As I leave town and head to Route 3, I want to talk about abilities for Sawsbuck, which of the three, nothing is really going to come in handy for a solo run, at least for this Pokemon. There's Chlorophyll, which boosts your speed in the sun. This could be handy, but with base 95 speed and needing a turn to set it up, I just didn't think it would be very useful. Then there's Sap Sipper, which is the ability I went with, which negates taking damage from grass-type attacks and raises your attack. But you don't really encounter too many grass types or grass-type moves in Unova. The ones you would see the most are the rival starter if they went with Snivy, or their elemental monkey, and then there's its hidden ability, Serene Grace, which boosts the chance of secondary effects happening. According to Bulbapedia, in Generation 5, it actually added the boost to held items items like the King's Rock or Razor Fang, increasing the flinch chance from 10% to 20%. I don't know if that goes for other items though, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I have another rival battle with Charon before we have to chase Team Plasma through Wellspring Cave. I've taught work up to this point and should at least set up once since Tepig just keeps going for Defense Curl, which is better than it spamming Ember over and over. I do set up Leech Seed to speed up the process and take out his Fire Pig, and the Dark type Purloin is no problem. In Wellspring Cave, I make sure to catch myself a Roggenrola for strength and a Woobat for fly. I pick up the glitched candy on Route 3 and head into Nakarine City. I elected to pick up the Miracle Seed here as a maybe I'll need this for later, forgetting there's one outside of Pinwheel Forest that I always skip. I then head south of Nakarine to train. During this training, Sawsbuck hits level 16 and can learn Feint Attack, a physical move that bypasses accuracy checks and provides some coverage. I'll take it, and I teach it in the place of Tackle. At this point, I was feeling pretty confident, so I race back to Nakarine Gym, but I have to battle N before I can enter. He doesn't provide a challenge, and neither do Lenora's gym trainers, and I'm hoping that with Double Kick, the normal type specialist won't either. Her lead is Herdier, who has the Intimidate ability, which isn't good for me, a physical attacker. I decide to set up Leech Seed on it, as its takedown does half to me, and that's without a crit. I go for Workup on my next turn, as another takedown brings me to 17 HP before my Oranberry and Leech Seed give me some much needed healing. Thanks to Leech Seed's chip damage and takedown's recoil, Double Kick is able to finish it, and I move on to her ace, Watchhog. While the 2 hits from Double Kick do well over half to it, Retaliate is enough to finish me, and the blackout grind begins. Thankfully, I am able to win after only one more blackout. I get lucky on Herdier, with one of my hits from Double Kick critting, taking it out with one use of the move. I level up and can learn Takedown, which I decline to do. We're going to talk about this decision in a little bit. And like with Herdier, one of my hits of Double Kick crits Watchhog, making her a clean sweep at level 20. In Pinwheel Forest, I'm going to do my usual, which is to battle the 2 trainers that are in the way of a rare candy for later, along with battling the rangers for some berries. I could pick up the TM for Grass Knot here, but I elect not to. There's also the TM for Solar Beam here later on when you get the rare candy, but I'm not going to be picking that up either. And I only mentioned Grass Knot just now because I recently played a run where it came in handy in Clay's gym, but I'm hoping to have a different move by the time I get there. As far as the Pokemon in question that I used Grass Knot with, that video will come in due time, maybe before the end of the year even. Once I arrive in Castelia City, I grab the TM for Rest. After chasing Team Plasma out of town and getting Bianca's Muna back, I head to Burgh's gym, and things go terribly against the first trainer in his gym. My set is currently Feint Attack, Double Kick, Leech Seed, and Workup. My 2 attacking moves are resisted by bug types, and I almost lose to the first trainer with a Sawaddle and Venipede. And if I'm barely able to get by the first gym trainer, how is Burgh going to go? Because of this, I go north to the desert to do some training, but I shouldn't be doing this. If I had to train, there's a better place to train, and let's talk about something. I could have taught Takedown over, let's say, Workup, or even Leech Seed, and that would have given me a neutral stab option against the bugs. One quick thing to note is that during this training, I do level up to 24 and can learn Jump Kick, which I teach in the place of Leech Seed, and I was hoping having a stronger attacking move would help things go better in Castelia Gym, and it kind of does. Against this trainer with a Venipede and Sawaddle, granted I do set up twice with Workup beforehand, Jump Kick is dealing decent damage, but the fact that I end the battle at 20 HP isn't very promising either. But let's just see how I fare against Burgh. The answer, not well at all. I don't even make it by his lead, the evolved form of Venipede, Whirlipede. I exit the gym and decide to do additional training at the Castelia Battle Company, which I shouldn't be training here either, although it is a better option than the desert. While here, I can pick up the scope lens, which will boost my critical hit chances, but there is a path to victory that I overlooked, and the time that I spent training when I didn't have to made me want to rerun this Pokemon, and after training to level 30 and suffering 2 more losses to Burgh, I finally figured it out. Better late than never though. I can teach Sawsbuck Retaliate, which after Stab has a base power of 105, and 5 PP should be all I need to get by Whirlwinded and Leavanny. I teach this in the place of Workup, and in the next battle, Retaliate nearly one-shots his lead. He does burn one of his Hyper Potions on it, as Feint Attack does over half, and I finish it the next turn. Dwebble is next, and Jump Kick is neutral against it, nearly one-shotting it as it just goes for Sand Attack. He burns his last Hyper Potion as I go for Feint Attack, which does half. I roll the dice with Double Kick, which hits and finishes the Rock Crab. Last is his Ace Leavanny. Retaliate misses as it speed controls me with String Shot. I go for Retaliate again, and it hits, getting a critical hit to one-shot his ace. At long last, Burgh is defeated. Hold on a second though. When watching this back in editing, I noticed that Feint Attack was dealing neutral damage, and earlier I said that bugs resist dark type moves, but no, I was wrong. I had my typings mixed up. I thought since dark types are weak to bug types, that dark type moves would be not very effective against them. Well, lesson learned. You can still leave me a comment on the video telling me how I was wrong to help the algorithm though. I appreciate that. I have a rival battle against Bianca as I leave town. Duat takes a bit longer than normal because I haven't restored my PP since defeating Burgh, because there's a free heal before battling Charon, who also doesn't provide much of a challenge for now. Once I enter Nimbasa City, I head straight for the Pokemon Center to purchase the TM for return, which will be an immediate upgrade in terms of power and PP over Retaliate. I grab the HM for strength, the Anvil Town candy, play Dress Up with Bianca, and head to the Ferris wheel to battle N. And while I didn't expect this battle to be tough, I also didn't expect to just one-shot sweep his team. I did have the opportunity to learn Energy Ball during this battle, but I'm going to decline. Hornleech is only 5 levels away. Now, let's finish up business here and take on Elisa. Her lead is in Emolga. I haven't taught Return yet and still have Retaliate, which one-shots, but I trigger Static and I'm now paralyzed for the rest of the battle. This lets the second Emolga outspeed me, but Aerial Ace doesn't do much as Retaliate one-shots it as well. Last is Zebstrika. While it does have Flame Charge on its learn set, it just opts for Quick Attack, as Jump Kick nearly one-shots it. Because of this, she burns through her Hyper Potions quickly, and I actually switched to Double Kick because I didn't want to miss and take a bunch of crash damage. I keep getting caught in paralysis as she slowly chips me down, but finally, Sawsbuck moves, and Double Kick finishes her referee. I have another rival battle with Charon as I exit town. This one's close because Pignite hits hard with Flame Charge, but I'm able to two-shot it, and the rest of his team is a one-shot sweep. Driftveil City. The first thing I do here is stop by the market to grab the Expert Belt. If you don't know what this item does, it boosts the power of super effective moves by 20%. On my way to the cold storage, I grab the PP Up, Ether, and Protein. The cold storage in Clay's gym are enough to get me to level 37, where I can now learn Hornleech, which I teach in the place of Feint Attack, and this will make Clay even easier. Krokorok is first, Hornleech one-shots, Excadrill is next, Jump Kick gets a critical hit which one-shots his ace. Last is Palpitoad, who goes down to a Hornleech. Clay really didn't deserve an intro. I have a rival battle with Bianca as I leave town. This probably would have went quickly had I just used Jump Kick on Herdier, but I was worried about crash damage and just kept using Double Kick. I also didn't save after defeating Clay, which I could just black out to Bianca if I did lose to her. Although I'm at nearly half health when Pansear comes out, and I will be at half after I one-shot it with Return and take hail damage, I can gain back all my lost HP against Duat with Horn Leech, and while Feint Attack would have probably made Musharna a one-hit, Horn Leech can get the two-shot. Charge Stone Cave. The Plasma Grunts here aren't a problem. I have Jump Kick, Double Kick, and Horn Leech for the Dark and Ground types I come across. No pesky Watchhog is safe, and I can use Return on the Poison types that I face. I make sure to head to the basement of Chargestone Cave to grab the Bright Powder, along with the Rare Candy. I have to battle N before I can enter Mistralton, and this one is a bit close. I'm going for Double Kick on Boldor to try and bypass Sturdy, but I barely don't have enough damage, as it just sets up Iron Defense. I can knock it out the next turn, and next is Joltik, which is an easy one-shot with Return. But after that is Pharaoh Seed. I go for Jump Kick and miss, and take half of my HP in crash damage. It just sets up Iron Defense as my next Jump Kick lands, nearly knocking it out, and I take damage from its Iron Barb's ability as it continues to set up Iron Defense. I can knock it out the next turn, but thanks to its Iron Barb's ability, I'm at 33 HP for Clink, and I'm actually looking forward to running Kling Clang. I think it'll be interesting. Thankfully, one use of Double Kick takes out the Steel type. Mistralton City. We have to chase down Skyla at the Celestial Tower to get her to come back to her gym so we can battle her. Did you guys know that in Black and White 2, the Celestial Tower is an optional place? Because I sure didn't the first time I played those games. Also, it's a little disappointing that they replaced Lenora with Roxy in those games. And poor Bryson, being a budget movie star. Anyway, I ring the bell to let my team in Assassin's Creed Valhalla know it's raid time. That's a game that's been on my backlog for a minute. I finally got around to playing it, and I have to say, it was quite disappointing. Even more disappointing is the effort Skyla puts forward in our gym battle. Return one-shots her lead Swoobat, one-shots her Unpheasant, which levels me to 44, and I decide to teach Nature Power in the place of Jump Kick. I shouldn't be doing this. And Return one-shots her ace Swanna. The rival battle against Charon is a good showing as to why Nature Power was a mistake. I thought since it was hailing and the season being winter, it would give me Ice Beam or Blizzard. But no, it gives me Earthquake. I looked up this chart on Bulbapedia after the fact, and yeah, I'm currently on Sand, Plain Terrain, or Rock, which is a bit disappointing because if this battle took place in Twist Mountain, using this move would have given me Rock Slide, which would give me super effective damage against the Unpheasant and Pignite. Oh well, lesson learned. Also, I didn't bother showing this battle because I won. Unpheasant was the biggest problem. Winter Twist Mountain, pick up the rare candy, get the TM for substitute, enter Iciris City, and grab another rare candy. Iciris City Gym. Despite having a type weakness, the trainers in the gym are no problem for Sawsbuck. Majority of the trainers have Cubchews and Cryogonals, both of which who are physically frail, and the Vanillishes I come across are just a sweet treat for our deer. Bryson doesn't fare much better than his gym trainers, while the Beartick does hit me with swagger, and things could have went south if I hit myself in confusion. Check out my Hydreigon or Escavalier video to see some rare Bryson wins. Luck is on my side as I don't hit myself, and it just speeds up the battle. Dragon Spiral Tower. While Jump Kick would have made battles against the Plasma Grunts quicker, my set of Double Kick, Return, and Horn Leech are more than enough to get the job done. I don't even struggle against the back-to-back-to-back-to-back Plasma Grunts. And at the top of Pegasus's castle, Seto Kaiba and his 3000 attack point Blue Eyes White Dragon stare down our deer with 400 attack points. Since this is Duelist Kingdom, one blast from its White Lightning attack would wipe us out, but he retreats for now. Guess he doesn't want my star chips. I take care of some errands before heading to Relic Castle, like getting the Route 16 candy, Desert Resort candy, battle this ranger for a Rost Berry, pick up the Heart Scale, and last, the cover fossil within Relic Castle. Double Kick and Horn Leech easily take care of all of the ground, normal, and dark types I come across, and Return is enough for the poison types I have to face. Once I reach the bottom of Relic Castle, we can chase Ghetsis out, grab the Dark Stone from Lenora, restore the cover fossil into a Tortuga so I can have a full party, pick up the Pinwheel Forest candy and Route 2 candy, and last, battle Bianca before entering Opelucid City. This battle isn't a challenge, but the only thing to note is that because of Stoutland's Intimidate, I unfortunately can't one-shot any of her Pokemon, with the exception of Simisear, and that was without a critical hit as well. If I had Workup on my set, I would probably use it once or twice here on Samurott, and then one-shot it and heal up any lost HP with Hornleech. But instead, I just get caught in a healing loop which wastes time, and had I still had Feint Attack, Musharna probably would be a one-shot after setup. Let's jump right to Opelucid City Gym. Double Kick takes care of all the dinos I come across, and Return can one-shot the Fractures, although I want to save PP of this move for Iris, so I can switch to Nature Power, which is Tri-Attack when used in here. Unfortunately, the Drudigans in here are a different breed, and I end up taking a blackout to this one because I couldn't remember my last save. It was actually right before battling Bianca. I opt to go for Nature Power to save some PP and not trigger its Rough Skin ability, and its Dragon Claw scores a critical hit doing over half. I roll the dice with Tri-Attack hoping for a freeze, but I don't get it, and Revenge finishes me. I do get my revenge, pun intended, in the next battle, two-shotting it with Return, although the combination of Night Slash and Rough Skin bring me to almost half HP. Iris isn't a difficult battle. Like with her gym trainers, her Drudigan is her toughest Pokemon, even though it doesn't have Rough Skin. It's mainly because it's the only one that bothers attacking me. I two-shot her lead Fracture, which just sets up Dragon Dance, and while her Drudigan does have Revenge, it just goes for Night Slash. After she runs out of Hyper Potions, I knock it out and one-shot her ace Haxorus. The final battle against Charon is a pretty easy one. I've taught Workup before this battle, and I'm able to set up twice thanks to Unpheasant just going for Protect 2 turns in a row, and this gives me one-shots against his entire team. In Victory Road, I'm going to pick up the rare candy, try to avoid as many spinners and optionals as I can, and once I reach the Pokemon League, I'm actually going to backtrack to Mistralton. Remember that heart scale I picked up in the desert resort? Well, it's not going to be the last I pick up, but I can use the move reminder here to relearn Feint Attack over Return, since I can teach this TM whenever. Now, I'm ready for the league. Caitlyn is up first. I set up one turn of Workup as Reuniqueless misses Focus Blast. Feint Attack leaves it on red health, and Focus Blast leaves me barely above a quarter of my HP. Because she's going to heal it though, I can use Hornleech to restore any lost HP, and I'm at full HP by the time I knock it out. I can one-shot the next two Pokemon with Feint Attack, and while I don't one-shot Gothitelle, its Psychic isn't doing nearly enough, and that's one league member down. Shauntal is next. I put a Rostberry on before this battle, expecting Will-O-Wisp from Cofagrigus right away, but it's just going for Psychic, which allows me to set up to +3 with Workup, and this gives me one-shots on her entire team. I can also heal up against the Golurk and Jellicent with Hornleech, just in case those came out before Chandelure, but no harm, no foul. Grimsley is next. I set up Workup turn 1 as Scrafty's Brick Break brings me to around a quarter of my HP. I go for Hornleech, hoping the healing from it will be enough to tank its next Brick Break, which it is, on 17 HP. Because Grimsley is now in a healing loop, I can get some much needed recovery from Hornleech as Scrafty goes down. He sends out his ace Bisharp next, which falls to a double kick. Against Liepard, I set up one more turn of Workup, who hits me with a Fake Out and then Aerial Ace before going down. And last is Crocodile. I wanted to squeeze in the extra turn of setup against Liepard because I wasn't sure if I was going to one-shot Crocodile without being at +1, but I'll never know if I could have one-shotted at -1 or neutral attack, because +1 gets the job done. 3 up, 3 down. And we have the toughest for last, Marshall. I set up a Workup turn 1 as Throw hits me with Bulldoze, lowering my speed. Hornleech isn't enough to take it out and I get tagged with another Bulldoze. While I'm still outspeeding Throw for now, I'm not going to be able to outspeed Mienshao or Sawk, but I just keep setting up before knocking it out. I level up and decline to learn Solar Beam. He sends out his ace Conkeldurr, and to my surprise, it outspeeds me and Hammer Arm annihilates me. In the next battle, I opt not to set up right away, bringing Throw into healing range before doing so. I set up 2 workups as I get hit with Payback and Storm Throw, and I'm hoping I still have enough speed to move first against the rest of his team. Well, I do against Conkeldurr, one-shotting it with Horn Leech and healing back to nearly full HP. But I don't outspeed Mienshao, as Jump Kick brings me to red health. I do one-shot it with Horn Leech and heal back to just under half. Will this be enough for Sawk? It outspeeds and uses Karate Chop, which leaves me at 11 HP. I roll the dice with Double Kick, knowing it will have a chance to strike again thanks to Sturdy, and at +2, one use of the move is enough. A second try on Marshall, and the only league member to give me a loss. I don't see that being the case in round 2 when things are much tougher though. The run to this point though hasn't been bad, and in terms of real time, it's on pace to be one of my fastest, despite some wasted time at Burgh. In N's Castle, I'm going to pick up the rare candy, and before capturing Zekrom, I'm going to pop 8 candies to level 68. Now, let's take on N. Remember at the beginning of the video when I said I'd point out why I went up against Reshiram? Well, it's because this was recorded early in the AM, and I wasn't thinking when loading the ROM into the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. So Sawsbuck has to go up against the tougher dragon, and this first battle ends quickly. Reshiram just goes for Fusion Flare twice in a row and ends me. Before the next battle, I use 2 more candies to reach level 70 and teach Return in the place of Feint Attack. I'm also holding the Scope Lens. Return misses the one-shot as Fusion Flare brings me to 50 HP, but I get a second chance thanks to a full restore. And this time the Scope Lens comes in clutch as Return scores a critical hit to one-shot. He sends out Vanillux next. Horn Leech can't get the one-shot, but it thankfully misses Blizzard. I finish it and move on to Kling Klang, which is really Zoroark. I roll the dice setting up a substitute, and it misses Focus Blast. It was this moment that confirmed to me it was Zoroark in the battle. Horn Leech one-shots it and brings me back to green health. The real Kling Klang comes out and I decide to set up Workup. I can get to +2 before it breaks my sub with a Hyper Beam. I squeeze in a third on the recharge turn before re-establishing Substitute as it fires another Hyper Beam. At +3, I go for Horn Leech, which can't one-shot, but it has to recharge and N is out of healing items. I finish it off, one-shot the Archeops, and two-shot Caracosta thanks to Sturdy, and end the battle at full health. A second try victory isn't bad over Reshiram. I'm just glad that his legendary dragon didn't wall me. I'm hoping that Ghetsis isn't a problem as well, and being that I'm a grass type with Substitute, I don't think he should be. Cofagrigus is the lead. Turn 1, set up Substitute, as it goes for Toxic, and it's going to keep spamming this move, allowing me to set up to +6. And at +6, Horn Leech in return can one-shot his entire team. A much easier battle than N. Sawsbuck finishes the main game at level 71, with a real time of 1 hour 47 minutes and 52 seconds, missing Hydreigon's real time mark by almost 4 minutes, which is the best I've done to date, with an in-game time of 6 hours and 31 minutes. I've done some rebalancing to my Gen 5 tier list. I also had to remove 2 Pokemon to prevent spoilers, but for this first playthrough, in terms of in-game time, Sawsbuck is going to find itself in the D tier with another grass type that I thought performed very well, but I've also gotten much better at the game since doing Superior's run and the other 2 starters. And while you might be looking at this and being like, it's ranked too low, just wait till the end of the video, we're going to revisit this. For now, let's see how Sawsbuck does in the postgame and how fast it can complete it. The first thing I do is head to Driftveil. I can pick up this hidden heart scale in the market, along with this one behind the cold storage. I head to Route 18 to grab the HM for Waterfall. Next, we're going to take a trip to Stridon City and the Dream Yard. In the postgame, you can come here and find the Sage Gorm, who gives you the TM for Swords Dance before being taken away. Head to Lostlorn Forest for an extra rare candy, grab the leftovers as I pass through Village Bridge, and battle Cynthia in Undella Town. I've mentioned this in a prior video, but Shadow Stitch actually discovered blackout grinding against Cynthia is the best way to train for round 2 of the league. But there's going to be a Pokemon I play in the future that doesn't have that luxury. For Sawsbuck though, it won't be blackout grinding because it's just going to absolutely crush Cynthia. Set up Substitute turn 1 on Spiritomb, then set up Swords Dance 3 times and sweep her team. While her Garchomp does break my sub because it's faster, if I wasn't behind one, at full HP, I'm more than sure Sawsbuck would have tanked a Dragon Rush. Finishing up my errands, I grab the abundant Shrine Candy, then head back to Mistralton City. With my 2 heart scales, I'm going to put Feint Attack and Double Kick back on my learn set, in the place of Substitute and Return, since I can teach those moves whenever. Now, I'm ready for round 2 of the league. Caitlyn, easy. Set up Swords Dance as Musharna misses Hypnosis, and while Feint Attack can't get the one-shot, it misses Hypnosis again, and because she's going to use a full restore on it, I can set up to +4, which lets Feint Attack one-shot sweep her team, even the Steel types. Chantal, also easy. Her and Caitlyn are the reasons why I heart-scaled back on Feint Attack. I put on a Rostberry before this battle to counter Cofagrigus' Will-O-Wisp, but it goes for Psychic twice before choosing the status move, allowing me to set up to +6. And while I am able to one-shot sweep her team, I actually get burned on Chandelure thanks to its Flame Body ability. Even with my attack cut though, I'm in no danger of losing this battle and can heal up any lost HP on Golurk and Jellicent with Horn Leech. Grimsley's next. I'm only able to set up to +2 against his lead Sharpedo because its Night Slash does over half with a critical hit. I do have the leftovers on for this battle, and the recovery from them and Horn Leech gets me back in green health even after rough skin damage. I'm back to full health after Scrafty, and I decide to play a little risky against Bisharp. It has X-Scissor, and I wanted to squeeze in 1 turn of Swords Dance and tank this move, but it chooses Night Slash. At +4, I was hoping Horn Leech would give me a one-shot, but it doesn't, and X-Scissor does over half. Grimsley does use his full restore on it, and I should have set up to +6 instead of going for Double Kick, because Drapion is next, and I'm not going to one-shot it. Horn Leech brings it to a quarter, and it gets me back into green health, as Poison Fang brings me to half. I can finish it the next turn, and his final 2 Pokemon are Liepard and Crocodile, both of which Horn Leech will easily one-shot. Once again, 3 for 3 on the league. But now we have to deal with round 2 Marshall, and his lead is Breloom. It tries to status me with Spore, but Sap Sipper activates for the first time in this run, giving me an attack boost, and with Swords Dance, I'm at +3, but I get greedy. I go for a second Swords Dance to reach +5, and it goes for Sky Uppercut, dealing massive damage. It also has priority Mach Punch, which finishes me the next turn. In the next battle, the Breloom defeats me again. At +3, Double Kick can't one-shot it with a single use of the move, and it takes me out with the same Sky Uppercut Mach Punch combo. In the third battle, I set up to +3. This time, I use Horn Leech, which I forgot to restore my PP in. Why I chose this move, I don't know, but it's doing less than Double Kick did. I should have just used Double Kick. I don't know what I was thinking in this moment. Sky Uppercut deals massive damage again, but it's in healing range now, which means Horn Leech can heal up any lost HP, but I trigger Breloom's Effect Spore and get poisoned. While I'm able to make it by his lead for the first time and can one-shot Mienshao with Horn Leech and get back into green health, I now move on to Sock. And good news, at +3, with 1 use of Double Kick, we can bypass Sturdy and one-shot it. I don't have any Horn Leeches left for throw though. Double Kick does around 2/3, as Superpower gives me my 3rd loss. I'm not surprised Marshall is such a problem. Attempt 4. I've restored my PP in Hornleech and used 2 PP ups, but what happens next was new. As usual, Breloom goes for a turn 1 Spore, triggering Sap Sipper. I attack with Hornleech again for some reason, but it goes for Spore a second time, triggering Sap Sipper again, bringing me to +4. Since it's in healing range, Marshall burns his full restore, and I should have set up to +6. But at +4, I can finish off Breloom and one-shot Mienshao, Sawk, Throw, Conkeldurr, and last is Toxicroak, which resists all of my attacking moves. I have to two-shot it, but it just misses low sweep. Thank you, Bright Powder. Marshall had the potential to wall me for a while, but his AI dropped the ball going for Spore twice. I'll take the lucky win. However, Alder has a few Pokemon that can cause problems for Sawsbuck. His ace especially could be problematic. Before the final battle, I teach Return in the place of Feint Attack. Now, let's see if Sawsbuck can trample the strongest trainer in Unova. Excelgor is the lead, which is another one of Alder's Pokemon that can be problematic. It's faster than me, and Bug Buzz deals massive damage. Because it's faster, it finishes me the next turn, and that's my first loss. This thing being faster than me is a problem. In the next battle, I just go for Return, which one-shots the frail special attacking bug, but then Alder sends in his ace next. Return unfortunately leaves it on low red health, and Overheat gives me a second loss. I can make it past Excelgor with ease, and I'm hoping the Bright Powder will get me a lucky miss, allowing me to squeeze in a Swords Dance, but it doesn't happen, including a battle I didn't put in because I used a turn 1 Swords Dance on Excelgor and lost, which I'm still going to try for some Bright Powder luck. I take 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. This is now my 7th attempt on Alder, and I'm going to see if the Scope Lens can give me some critical hit luck to get by Volcarona, and it does, one-shotting his ace. He sends in Bouffalant next, and I didn't know this thing had Sap Sipper as an ability until I went for Hornleech, triggering it, and it finishes me with Head Charge. I had 7 more losses to Alder, 14 in total to the champion of Unova before this battle. Excelgor, for the first time in these battles, chooses me first, which fails, allowing me to set up to +2. I still have the Scope Lens on and I'm going to try something. Bug Buzz is going to deal massive damage to me, but can Hornleech get the one-shot and heal me up? The answer is yes. I've got green health for Volcarona. In a lot of the losses I had, I would trigger Flame Body, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen here. And it doesn't. We're moving on to Bouffalant again. I choose Double Kick as my move of choice, and thanks to the second hit critting, I'm able to take it out, moving on to Druddigon. Return will one-shot it while Rough-Skin deals chip damage. He sends in Vanillix next, which is perfect. I can one-shot it with Hornleech and have green health for the final Pokemon as Cavalier. It has both X-Scissor and Aerial Ace, the first of which will hit much harder. Double Kick brings it to half, as it chooses X-Scissor, dealing massive damage, and I was holding my breath as my HP depleted, but Sawsbuck survives on 12 HP. I move first, hitting another Double Kick, and finally, the run is done. In terms of real time, Sawsbuck completes the post-game with my fastest real time to date, 25 minutes and 52 seconds. This was an additional 1 hour and 9 minutes of in-game time, for a grand total of 7 hours and 40 minutes in-game time. I should note that I started doing Alder attempts at 20 minutes and 11 seconds in, getting walled for over 5 minutes. And I've done some rebalancing of my post-game tier list as well. As you know, I like to use in-game time as my main metric, and I felt like using additional game time as the metric for this was fair for now. Sawsbuck will find itself in the S tier for the post-game, being right under that 1 hour 10 minute cutoff mark, but I mentioned to you guys that we were going to address its first run at the end of the video, and I'll be real, I knew I could play so much better with this thing, and considering the mistake I made at Burgh, resetting my experience back to level 5, For the first time in these Generation 5 runs, I dove back in for a second playthrough, this time in Pokémon Black. I only played the main game though, I really didn't want to complete the post-game again. And this time, going back to visit Black, I had a real time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 33 seconds, my fastest real time in these runs, and improved my in-game time by nearly an hour at 5 hours and 32 minutes. 4 minutes off my best with Haxorus, whose real time is over an hour higher at 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 11 seconds. If you're looking away, I'm going to direct you to look at the screen now, because I'm about to play some highlights from the second run, but I'm not going to go in depth about all the changes I did. I'll briefly talk about them. Also, if you're wondering why the real time of Haxorus is an hour higher than Sawsbuck's but it has a better in-game time, it's because when I first started doing these runs, I played on the emulator Desmume, which wasn't getting true 4 times speed. It was more like 2.5 to 3 times with the frame rate. I've also done some hardware updates on my computer since then, upgrading my motherboard and processor. RAM is still the same, but I want to explore upgrading that again, and I've also got a better cooling system now, because my office used to get pretty warm when doing these runs. If you're wondering to yourself if hardware upgrades really do wonders, well, Scott pointed it out in his Platinum series that after he upgraded his hardware, aside from getting better at the games, his times improved immensely. Alright, so the changes made in the second run really. This time around, I only had one Lenora blackout before winning. This is because I did some training south of Nakarine. Burgh was a first try victory thanks to me teaching Retaliate right away. Drayden was actually a bit tougher than Iris, and he almost beat me, but I got a bit lucky because Haxorus, instead of attacking to finish me, just went for Dragon Dance. And this time around, I got first try victories against N and Marshall, setting up Substitute on throw as it would just use Bulldoze, but wouldn't get the speed drop, and because it's not very effective, I was able to set up workups safely behind it, and re-establish it when needed. And really the same goes for N, because Fusion Bolt does not hit as hard as Fusion Flare, although Giga Impact still hurts. But it also helps when Zekrom wastes a turn setting up Light Screen. Anyway, skipping all of the optional training I did in my first playthrough, at least around Burgh, having a bit better overworld movement, and taking the experience from my first run resulted in this. And hey, if you're wondering what it would do like in the post-game, maybe put in the comments justice for Sawsbuck's post-game. Actually, no, don't put that. Just say that you're interested in the post-game results, and maybe I'll come do that one day. But for now, thank you for the continued support on the channel as we close out 2025. I'm going to mention one more thing. If we were to bring the tier list back up, with its new results, Sawsbuck would find itself in the A tier, ahead of Ez Cavalier. Don't worry, I plan on giving the starters justice. I might do those as live streams in December or early 2026. And next time I play Pokemon Black, I'm going to be using a Pokemon that has given this Pokemon problems, and I thought it would be decent in a solo run, but you'll just have to wait and see when we see how Excelgor does. And let me be the first to say, in a solo run, it's not a very good Pokemon, but you'll just have to wait and see. As always, thank you for the continued support on the channel. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Take care, everybody.